on these. All right, we know very well that some tables were not able to suspend disbelief and participate in this, but some groups did. We know that every single parcel in Fitzgerald is unique. So really, and I think there's, dozens of property owners in the Fitzgerald area, so it wouldn't necessarily be possible to do a thorough analysis on everyone's site in this process. So these are just sort of what ifs. This group, not sure if anyone wants to take credit for it, but Anne is in the restroom. She was in this group. But I think we ended up developing saying, okay, we're going to go 5-acre parcel. We're going to go for about 35 homes. And some of the smaller little sticky notes hiding behind, I think, retention are some of the Tom Campbell style limited excavation down closer to the more sensitive habitat. The recommendation of the group was to concentrate your impact near the site access and keep the more environmental, the LID treatments down towards the sensitive areas. So there's Ann. Folks wanted to keep the existing trees where they were. We had a variety of property owners in this area. And I have your things right by Darren here. If you can, yep, there she goes. So so some folks had just clear meadow on their property now. Some folks were up in zone 1. Some folks were down lower. So we had a variety of property owners, and we discussed sort of the trade-offs of what would happen on each site. Folks didn't want to necessarily use the impervious pavement for the roadways, just due to cost concerns. And if they were already mitigating by either retaining the forest, and if they weren't reaching the 60% or the 35% forest cover, then they would use the bioretention and the dispersion catchment areas down closer to the stream buffer. We did try and stay completely out of the stream buffer just in case regulation precluded that. Did I forget anything on that just sample site? Talked about the little minimum excavation homes before, and you were able to come in, but then clustering most of the development up top. All right. I think we had one other in that room. Would be this one. And this group, where are some of my representatives from this group? My eyeballs, here we go. Well, Ben, you were in this room, you were right there. So can you just mention what was going on here? And I think you might have to speak into the microphone, sir. Yeah. Either way.
So we had some sidebar discussions that took away from perhaps the same level of detail, but I think it was valuable. But I think the general approach was they liked the commons kind of approach where they wanted the most amount of tools possible and using a lot of different ones, and then clustering the development sort of around a central developed area. And obviously we didn't get into the toolies too terribly much on this particular one.
Yeah, thank you, thanks. Yep, and then this one is a very simple design, kind of peaceful. Just one house, keeping the forest cover, and that property owner was just fine with that. So there are several property owners of this nature in the Fitzgerald area, so kind of a zen moment on that parcel. And then Nadine, on your group, do you want to just represent what you guys discussed there, please?
Sure. This was done fairly quickly, but looking to develop most of the potential of the site, so a fair number of units. And I think the conversation was more about we didn't necessarily represent this, but having a common alley similar to the Clearwater Commons discussion, and an openness to pretty much all of the LID tools in various applications across the site.
Thanks, all right. And I know this is really just, as I said, just to restate the obvious, this was too hard for, I think, our tables in the council chambers. You didn't want to go there, didn't want to send the wrong message to council, and we certainly respect that. We want to move on to this question about, just do a quick recap of what the groups came up with on prescriptive versus demonstrative. But why don't we, instead of going group by group, because I know we got some feedback from each group, why don't we go straight to the polling, Nadine, and then we can talk about the flip charts if there's time, but folks may want to just retain that time for general discussion or comments.
All right, so if anyone wasn't here last time, these are, use your instant polling for this. So there's no wrong answer.
You answer once, and if you hit the wrong button, you can answer again. So it'll record the last button that you pushed. Does everyone have one? Do I need to hand out any others? Okay, sounds like everyone got one. So after discussing the tools tonight and their applications, what do you think? A, they're generally on the right track. B, some important strategies are missing. C, some of the strategies should not be carried forward.
Could you
And
be more specific about the tools that you are talking about?
that's the list of the LID tools. So the bioretention, dispersion, the
Rain gardens, the
rain
whole
gardens.
list of 8 that were in the technical memo,
So
yeah.
you're
specifically talking about the
about
LID.
tools.
That's right.
Because that's not clear.
That's right.
from the question.
That's
Okay,
right.
yeah.
Yep. So is the polling open? Are you going?
Yes,
People can
it's
log
ready.
there.
So, yeah, so the green box in the top right says polling open. And so I see there's about 21 responses. So I'll give you a few more seconds to answer the question, and then we'll advance. Okay, looks like there's 25 of us here. Oh, still climbing. All right, I'm going to click it. All right, so 38%, they're generally on the right track. 31, some important strategies are missing. Large, not sure contingent, which is all right.
So how many times can you press this button?
Just one.
You just answer, yeah, it just records the last button that you push. So you
The
just-
last
you just-
one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the one answer.
Your last
Yeah.
answer. But Nadine, can you go back to this for a sec? So I would like to hear who thinks some important I mean, not to call you out, but more importantly, what strategies are we missing, please? Anyone, please, sir, yeah. Doing nothing, right, yeah, sure, you betcha. And I think that is always an option, yeah, doing nothing. Absolutely, and as we heard, some folks rightly, have no intention of developing their property any more than it is today, and that's fair. Yeah, sir, please.
Separating out the zones, so there's quite a few there in zone 1. There are a lot of
Okay, so separating the zones, you mentioned a lot of us are in zone 1, and some of these techniques do not apply. Is that right? Right, you have to just get so site-specific, is that your point? Yeah,
But
please, Ann, yeah.
You said we're specifically talking about LID tools.
That's right.
So those, you can't do nothing because they're going to be required to implement them.
Well, if you're not developing your property,
Huh?
if you're not developing your property.
So
yeah.
doing nothing means don't develop
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
But to separate the zone.
That's not an LID, that's a different strategy, which is
That-
valid. We can capture that in the,
doesn't really relate to the tools, does it?
fair enough, thank you. Sir?
I think all of this assumes that we're in agreement that the 10% effective impervious is the right solution. And you're applying these tools to get there, but I would argue that maybe that's a little aggressive.
I appreciate that. So gentleman's comment is that we've sort of assumed in Paul's presentations and others that 10% net effective remaining impervious area is the right target. And is your thinking, sir, that it might be too high or too low? Too restrictive, okay, yeah. Okay, and we don't have to answer that tonight, but I'll just record that could be too restrictive. Others may have the opposite view, of course. Sir, please, in the purple.
And I would just connect that last point with the second point. It may not be too restrictive in some areas, but it might be in
To the zone point, yeah. Thanks, so get a little bit more nuance of the application per zone, or go demonstrative, which we might see in a moment. So allow people to be flexible per zones. Please, sir, yeah.
Sell some of the land in conservation status.
Sure, good one. So sell land so that's in conservation easement or status. Yeah, thank you. If I can spell here, conservation status. Great. It's always hard to do when people are watching. My spelling goes out the window. Anyone else? Anything else missing? If not, we'll get back to the polling. All right, thanks, Nadine.
All right, so we'll go on, there are our answers. And so this.
Oh, pardon me,
gets-
Nadine, can you go back once? I feel like there was something there and shouldn't be carried forward. Some should not, was there any some should not be carried forward?
Yes.
Anyone care to mention which of the techniques should just drop out? All right, okay, thanks.
So as we've been talking, the second question during the discussion was a look at the prescriptive versus the demonstrative, so the different paths to get to the LID. And so this is just a refresher of what our previous slide was. And so should the city make clear requirements or allow creative approaches, which would be the demonstrative, that demonstrate compliance? So this is sort of gauging where you fall on this range. So A, strongly favor clear requirements. B, mostly favor clear requirements. C, favor both options. D, mostly favor allowing creative approaches. E, strongly favor creative approaches. Or F, not sure.
And the polling's open, 20 are already in.
Mm-hmm. All right. Okay. All right. So 34% favor both options. 28% are strongly in favor of clear requirements. And the next highest would be mostly favor clear requirements. And then demonstrative is, yeah, a smaller portion.
And that, just to stay on that, well, I know we have a couple more questions. I should be careful of time, but there was a split in the groups. So I know the city is always, we check this before we ask, because we don't want to ask any questions of you that are not possible. City's, open to considering both a prescriptive track and a demonstrative track. So that would be, of course, in consultation with regulatory bodies, but it is not, they said it's not out of the question. So folks, there is definitely some interest in the demonstrative approach, but I would say overall, just as this shows, might be a little bit more weight to just tell us what to do. I want certainty if I'm going to make an investment. I don't want them to be told it didn't make the test, et cetera. So,
Right.
Thanks.
Okay. So the next question, imagine you're a property on the area, which many of you may be. If you were to develop property, would you more likely, A, choose to follow clear requirements, B, choose a creative approach and demonstrate compliance, or C, not sure?
And you can answer even if you're not a property owner. So if you were, just
Right.
imagine you are a property owner, would you be more likely to do any of these things?
All right, a couple more. All right, gonna call it. All right, so close to half would choose to follow clear requirements, but a good sizable 32% would want a creative approach.
And of those not sure in the room, does anyone want to comment on why? I know that some of the smaller groups mentioned that they just they themselves didn't, weren't inclined to develop their property. They haven't been able to either sell their property either, probably because of some of the ambiguity. So it was more, the cinema was more just sort it out, let me know, so that I can, so that others I might be able to garner some interest in my property. Anyone else on the not sure side? I'll explain why or what could be helpful as we develop some approaches. Okay, great.
All right. Would you like one or both of options to be available? A, I'd prefer just clear requirements to be available. B,
This is a similar, so this is if you owned, and then this is just more in the abstract. So this is now just in general. Yeah, this is even more generalized.
yeah, so I'd prefer only creative demonstration be available. C, I'd prefer both options to be available, or D, not sure.
Taking off your personal hat, just what do you think is best for this community of Bothell?
All right. Okay. Over half would prefer both options be available.
Appreciate that. Great.
And then final question, wrap up. The next meeting is in 2 weeks, so it'll be the same time and same place the Thursday, June 9th. Will you be able to attend? Yes, I'll be able to attend, or my designee. No, I won't be able to attend, or C, not sure. One more? All right, great.
I have a question.
Yes.
Please.
Are there people voting in the room that are not going to be affected by the decisions made with this Fitzgerald project? And if so, why are they allowed to be able to have an opinion?
I'm glad that you asked. So I've been trying to remind myself to make this point.
I find that a little bit of a conflict of
Sure.
interest. If you have professional people in here that are making opinions,
Oh, no, the staff and consultants aren't voting.
Staff aren't, no,
Yeah,
no.
yeah, no,
It's
sorry, yeah. I thought you meant
stakeholders.
residents versus non-residents. or-
Stakeholders only.
Yeah.
well, that's true, residents or non-residents. I think people that live and are impacted by the decisions you're making in Fitzgerald should be the people that have the voice.
Sure. And this is, yeah, so the staff and consultants aren't voting. So I wanted to make this point. I'm going to make a point and then I hope it answers your question. This, series of discussions is not a numbers game. So this is not, we have more property owners in the room versus those that, have an environment, who don't own property and have an environmental concern about the area. In Washington, and indeed in, I believe, all of North America, folks can have standing and participate in public processes even if they don't live in the area. So it really would be remiss not to just, invite everybody in to try and reach the best solution we can now. But at our first meeting, the majority of the participants are property owners in this room. But again, we wanted to emphasize that it's not a numbers game, and it's so important to hear from everybody. And we do appreciate the comments in the discussion tonight, your concerns about the exercise. Of course, it was in the abstract, just getting to know the tools and the trade-offs. If you're going to be creating pervious coverage, how could you mitigate that was the main point, and just, getting used to that. Many of you probably already know that, but maybe, some didn't. And so I know it was instructive for the group I was in. Any comments about or questions? I guess I should just say that please, if you haven't reviewed the memos and provided comment, please feel free to do so by March 31st. That's Tuesday after this Memorial Day weekend. They were released as anticipated on May 20th. We know they're draft. Folks have given some excellent comments. We know they're weren't scoped out to be to the depth of the 2006 investigation, but it's an update. So please continue to provide those comments. On June 9th, it is fast, so we'll be coming together probably mostly in plenary. I won't make you or ask you to do what we did tonight, which is to suspend disbelief and experiment with the tools. We'll be more coming back to you with a set of options to consider to advance to council and having more facilitated dialogue about are we on the right track with those recommendations? Yeah. Are there any final questions or comments before Tom closes us out? I know we're heading up on 8 o'clock. It's getting late. Any other? All right. Tom? Thank you all. Excuse me.
Please, I want to thank Kirsten and the representatives from Parametrics, Friganassi and Associates for helping us out tonight. We've gained some valuable information. Certainly the ideas of separating the zones and looking at some of the areas in a little greater detail concerning how we might take different approaches to certain areas is valuable. We're getting some good feedback from this. I know some may be reluctant to make a commitment, but I really want you to feel comfortable giving us your thoughts and contributing to this effort. So please fill out a comment form. Let us know what you thought has worked, what hasn't worked. Let us know what you feel should be included in prescriptive and demonstrative and LID. Feel free to put those on the comment forms. And lastly, comments on the technical memorandums are due May 31st. If you have some comments on those that are on the website, we'll put up more information from tonight's meeting, like the PowerPoint, on the website by early next week. And hope you can join us back for one more meeting on the 9th. Appreciate all your time and your patience, and have a good evening and drive safely.
Sorry, quick clarifying question, where do the comments go? Who reviews them?
They're summarized by our planning staff, and then we share those with the consultants, and so we can incorporate those into the final report.
Right, so those would, pardon me if I may, so one of the things that would be, we feel is important is his report.
Right.
So the council would also see those verbatim as well.
Absolutely, yeah. If you couldn't hear Kirsten, include those as an appendix to the report so that they all go before the city council. Any other questions? Thank you so much. We'll see you again on the 9th.
No worries, that easy. All right.